the mind works in mysterious ways. Sometimes in our struggle to find a logical explanation behind some of the world's wildest phenomena, our imaginations run wild and come up with the most outrageous theories. And lo and behold, some of them hold water after all. Just like these 10 conspiracy theories that turned out to be true. What's up, Factnatics? This is Discovery Amuse, serving up your daily dose of the most outrageous, outlandish, and out-of-this-world fun facts. Stay tuned for our number one pick. It's so bonkers that you'd wished it stayed imaginary. Let's jump right in. Number 10, North Korea abductions. Between 1977 and 1983, Japanese and South Korean media claimed that North Korean agents had been abducting young Japanese citizens. Reports speculated that victims who were in their 20s had been abducted to teach Japanese language and culture to North Korean spy schools. Meanwhile, older captives had their identities obtained. Furthermore, the female abductees were allegedly forced to marry North Korea-based Japanese terrorists. For the longest time, North Korea upheld its innocence. However, in September 2002, during the first Japan-North Korea summit, Kim Jong-il confessed and apologized for the abduction of 13 Japanese citizens. But instead of strengthening the ties between the two states, the admission caused public outrage. Not a good look for the world-renowned dictator. Keep watching, because even Tom Clancy couldn't have made up our top 1 entry. Number 9, the Tuskegee Experiment. In 1972, a whistleblower named Peter Buxton gave some journalists their scoop of a lifetime. The Washington Star, the Associated Press, and the New York Times all reported about Buxton's claims that a rather unethical syphilis study was being conducted at the Tuskegee Institute since 1932, involving 600 black test subjects, and that the CDC and the American Medical Association were supporting it. The experiment wanted to observe what happens to a person when syphilis remains untreated. 399 of the test subjects had the disease, while 201 were not infected. The catch was, while all of them were promised medical care, the U.S. Public Health Service, who was conducting the study, deceived the men by disguising placebos and other procedures as quote-unquote treatment. While the subjects had previously agreed to be examined and treated, there was no evidence that the researchers informed them of the real purpose of the experiment. A class action lawsuit ensued, and the U.S. government was made to pay $10 million in damages. Number 8, catching a Beatle. During the late 1960s, as legendary Beatles member John Lennon was starting to become more known as an anti-war activist, rumors circulated that he was actually being closely watched by the FBI. Turns out the ex-Beatle was indeed under surveillance. Lennon started becoming a target of the FBI and the Nixon government when his song "Give Peace a Chance" became the anthem of demonstrators protesting against the Vietnam War. Consequently, Lennon wrote a song dedicated to jailed activist John Sinclair. Which didn't sit well with American authorities. Nixon grew so anxious of Lennon's rising influence, especially on the younger voters, which posed a serious threat to his re-election campaign in 1971, that Nixon even had Lennon deported. Over the succeeding years, the FBI gathered more than 300 pieces of intelligence about Lennon, and it took more than 20 years to bring the former Beatles files to public attention. Number 7. A female U.S. president? When President Woodrow Wilson suffered a stroke toward the end of his presidency in October 1919, his condition was kept hidden from the public for months. However, when the truth finally came out, a lot of people suspected that his wife, Edith Wilson, had essentially been running the nation all along. Apparently, they're not wrong. The First Lady, under the guise of what they call stewardship, practically managed the office of the president and took over several duties of the executive branch in the absence of her husband. She even got access to classified information and was even entrusted to encode and decode encrypted messages. Mrs. Edith Wilson, proving that behind every successful man is a woman. since 1919. Number 6. Canadian Gaydar. Before Canada became the ideal LGBT-loving country that it is right now, its checkered past involved a witch hunt for queer people in the public service, the police force, and the military during a time when homosexuality was considered a crime. In the 1960s, a device called the fruit machine was developed to weed out the bad fruit, aka gay men, among the federal ranks. So how did it work, you ask? The device showed a person gay porn and basically measured his eyes, sweat, and pulse to detect any form of sexual excitement. Dumb idea, I know.
Oh my God.
And the worst part, people were initially made to believe that the purpose of the contraption was to measure stress. Around 400 men were fired from civil service after sitting on the fruit machine before its accuracy was later proven to be questionable. Number 5. Deadly booze. Have you ever heard of the legend of the poisonous liquor which killed more than 10,000 Americans during the Prohibition era? During the 1920s, despite the Prohibition law, a lot of people hiding in speakeasies and underground bars kept drinking. To address this issue, the federal government introduced a new formula for denaturing alcohol so that it becomes twice as poisonous. However, this didn't stop bootleggers from selling and thirsty patrons from drinking the tainted booze. This, despite the government claiming that the new formula for alcohol was essentially poison. Number 4. The Dalai Lama and the CIA. Yes, at first sight, these two don't seem to go together, but believe it or not, the Dalai Lama is indeed a CIA agent. Based on declassified documents, the Dalai Lama earned a cool 180 grand as his cut when the CIA funded the Tibetan resistance in the 1960s. The resistance aimed to disrupt China's burgeoning infrastructure. During the campaign, which the CIA backed with $1.7 million per year, tens of thousands of Tibetans were killed. At the time, the Dalai Lama ended up fleeing his residence and seeking refuge in India with the help of his BFFs in the CIA. Number 3. Gay bombs. In the 1970s, the CIA focused its resources on creating effective non-lethal weapons. So, scientists and researchers were quick to brainstorm ideas, and one among them was so outlandish that their bosses thought it wasn't quite straight to the point. To obliterate the ranks of the enemy troops, the CIA came up with a weapon dubbed the gay bomb. Yes, you heard it right. The gay bomb was supposed to release clouds of female sex pheromones that would sexually arouse the opposing troops so they would fall in love with each other. The idea was to turn them into homosexuals in order to distract, if not altogether dissuade them from going to war. However, up until today, no well-controlled scientific studies have ever been published to back up the effectiveness of this weapon. Number 2. Heart attack gun. Now here's something that's supposed to hit the enemy straight to the heart. In a continued stroke of twisted genius, the agency greenlit the funding of manufacturing a gun that triggers heart attacks on the victim. Sometime during the Cold War, the CIA was burdened with a kill list but was racking their brains for a weapon that could do the job completely undetected. As a result, the agency started to experiment with untraceable poisons that can completely mimic a heart attack in the victim's systems. The idea was for the gun to fire darts that would penetrate clothing but leave only a small red dot on the skin's surface. Once inside the body, the dart disintegrates, and the frozen poison inside would begin to melt, entering the bloodstream and causing a cardiac episode. The CIA hoped that future investigations would rule out assassination as a cause for the victim's death, leaving the assailant completely undetected. A few years later, however, the Church Commission brought this project to light and forced the government to ban the use of these guns. Bless their good hearts. We're finally down to our number 1 pick, but before that, make sure to smash the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. Don't forget to choose all so you won't miss out on any of our latest life-changing, boredom-busting content. And of course, be sure to turn on notifications in your app's settings. Number 1, Project MK Ultra. Our top 1 conspiracy theory is so mind-blowing, we're also baffled that it's true. Rumors about an illicit mind control program in the 1950s led by the CIA circulated in American media. Allegedly, a series of experiments on humans intended to identify and develop drugs and procedures that weaken the individual and force confessions through mind control. Around 2 decades later, the Rockefeller Commission confirmed these rumors to be true, revealing that inhumane projects have been done on humans to control them using psychoactive drugs dubbed as Project MK-Ultra. Under this program, the human subjects were forced to submit to the whims of researchers through the administration of LSD, hypnosis, isolation, verbal and sexual abuse, and other forms of torture. Due to the increasing risk of being publicized, the CIA reduced its scope in 1964 until the project was officially halted in 1973. And you thought the movie Minority Report was wild? And there you have it, our list of the 10 conspiracy theories that turned out to be true. So, what's your favorite conspiracy theory? Let us know in the comments section below. Take home our exclusive gear by browsing our merch shelf or clicking the link in the video description. And while you're at it, take our quiz to find out how you can earn extra cash online doing what you do best. Awesome, right? Want more unbelievable stories? Then don't miss our countdown of the 12 science experiments that went horribly wrong. Till then, stay sharp, Factnatics, and see you in the next video.